Hi and welcome back to LearnVisualFoxPro.com. In this lesson, I want to take a look at SQL and FoxPro. I remember the first time I encountered SQL in FoxPro for DOS 2.0, and I think it was one of the best things, and it has been to this day one of my favorite features in Visual FoxPro. SQL is so rich and powerful, and if you already know SQL from another language, then welcome. You can use that knowledge here in FoxPro. So I'm just going to run through and show you some of the basic things that we can do with the SQL command. In fact, I'll just go help here, and the first SQL command that we want to look at is the select command. And in fact, there have been quite a number of extensions to the language set or the command set in Visual FoxPro 9. I won't be touching all of that. I'll just be sticking with the basics just to get you up to speed. Okay, so of course you see here SQL select, and these are all the clauses that we can look at. I'll save you having to read all that for yourself, but it's good to take a look at perhaps after this lesson. So what I'm going to do is open a table, and I'm just going to use one of those tables provided for us in the samples. Let's see now. And we'll go with the customers table, and I'll just browse it to see what columns are in here. Okay, so we've got customer ID, customer name, contact, address. Now, one of the things that which is nice and can be a problem at times is that I'm not seeing the exact name of the field here. I'm getting the caption name as specified in the database, so that will make it a little difficult in specifying these in the SQL. I'd have to modify the table body structure to see what the exact name. So it's company name, customer ID, contact name, so no space in there. And if we click on that, you can see the caption here, company name, which is what I see when I browse. The customer ID is what I see when I browse, and contact name, what I see when I browse the table. So it's all the same, just no space. So that's fine. So let's get started. So the first SQL command we want to look at is the select command, and the select command is a query command. It allows us to query one or more tables. The simplest command is to return all records in a given table, and we'll try this out. Select star. Star simply means return all the columns in the table. And then I say now from, I use the from clause to specify the name of the table, and the name of the table is customers, and so I'll type customers here, and there we have our command. So press enter key, and the result is similar to a browse. Notice down here it says selected 91 records in 0.0 seconds, so it was saying it was pretty fast. And what Visual FoxPro does is to create a cursor. A cursor is a temporary table. So if I were to open the data session window, you will see customers, and you'll also see my cursor, which has basically the same structure as my table. Now notice that when I go on customers, I can select the properties of the table, but when I go on a cursor, the properties is dim. So that's one way you know that you're using a cursor. There's no name that is shown down here, but of course you can browse it. All the columns and are inherited from the original table. When I close this table, when you close a cursor, Visual FoxPro automatically deletes the file that is created on disk if one is created. We never know exactly what it's doing. This could be in memory, and so a physical file may not necessarily exist, but we can rest assured that when we create a cursor and we close it, Visual FoxPro will take care of cleaning up. In the old days, we didn't have any cursor in FoxPro 1 days. I'm not sure if it was in version 2 of FoxPro for DOS that we had cursors, and so we would create tables which were temporary tables, but then we would have to take care of deleting those tables ourselves. And I remember an application I wrote that if it crashed, then those temporary tables were not deleted, and so we would end up with a bunch of temporary tables in the application folder, which would need to be cleared out manually from time to time. So with cursors, once I say close, once I say use, the Visual FoxPro deletes the temporary file. So, okay, that's it for cursors. So select star from customers returns all the rows in the table. Now, if I wanted to see the customer ID and the customer name and the contact name only, instead of using the star, I would specify the name. Now again, remember that this is the caption, and we looked at the full name when we modify the structure, so I have to specify that, customer ID, company name, and in fact the order doesn't matter. I can specify contact name first and then company name. From customers, press enter key, and then I get all the I get the specified columns. Okay. And what I find interesting is that Visual FoxPro still honors the caption specified in the original table and shows me customer ID, though I did specify the actual physical column names. So here we're not specifying any filter conditions on the select. Where no filter conditions are specified, Visual FoxPro returns all the records in the table. Okay, so let's close this query. Let's open the table. Let's look now at creating a filter condition. And so let's say I wanted to see all the records, or everyone that lived in Mexico. To do that, let's go back up to here. So return all columns from the customer table, and to specify a filter, we use the where clause. Let's get IntelliSense out of the way. Where, and we want to specify that country is equal to Mexico. Now again, it will do a case-sensitive match here, so I have to type Mexico as it is entered in the table, and press enter key, and we have 5 records that match. Okay, we can scroll across and we see those 5 records. So this is pretty powerful stuff here. I'm just in love with the select command and some of the things that we can do. So I'm doing basic stuff here. In the next lesson, in another lesson, not the next one, we'll be looking back at application part 2. In another lesson, I'll look at joining and creating queries from multiple tables. Okay, so that's Mexico. If we put Germany here, let's see how many Germans are in the table. And this one gave us 11 records, selected 11 records in 0.01 seconds. And we can prove that this is all Germany stuff here. Okay. So that's the select. Again, if we wanted just the company name, and the country, we could do that, and we get the results here. And we can, of course, specify multiple conditions using the AND clause to join multiple condition, or we can use the OR command, such as country equal Germany or country equal Mexico. And so let's do this over here. Let's copy this. And so this way we see. Okay, so what is interesting, and let's show you some of the other stuff that we can do with the select here. So the records are returned in basically the same physical order that they are in the original table. We can change that using the order clause. As you notice here that we have a mixture of Germany, Mexico, Mexico, Germany. We can sort that by country if we wish. I'm going to break this up a little bit, so let me start this over. So I'll say select company name, country, and I'll put a semicolon here to indicate that I wish to continue on another line. So I'll press Enter key, and then I put from customers, put another semicolon here to continue another line where country equal to Germany or country equal to Mexico. Put a semicolon here again to continue on another line, and then I say order all that by, and I'll put country. So use the country column to determine the order. By default, the order is ascending. I could specify ASC here or DESC for descending if I wish. So we'll look at that in a second. And now I press Enter key. So all of this will be treated as one line. The semicolon is the line continuation character in Visual FoxPro. And VB, for those VB users, it would be underscore. Right? In Visual FoxPro, it's the semicolon. So I enter no semicolon because I don't wish to continue this line. So then I go Enter key, and of course we now have the results ordered with all the with Germany showing first, and then after that Mexico. If we change this to descending, enter, then we'd have Mexico at the top and Germany at the bottom. So again, the selects is very powerful, and you'll want to play around with that some more. Okay, let's see what else we can do here. Okay, let's say I wanted to get a count of the number of records in the table. I can say select count, and in bracket I put star, because I want to. It doesn't matter which field. I just want to count of all the records. And I say from customers, and press Enter key. And this tells me, gives me by default it names the column according to the function that I've used. So it gives me, returns a column called CNT, and it tells me the number of records I have in the table. Okay, let's browse this again, see what else we can do here. Are there any numeric values in here? Perhaps I could do a sum. Okay, there are no numeric values in here, but if there were numeric values in the table, I could actually perform a sum, a summation, or I could do averages, or I could even do, in fact, I can do max and min. Let's see if we can find another table to showcase that. So we have customer demographics. Let's see what's in here. Okay, order details. That should have some stuff for us. Perfect. So with the order details table, let's look at the sum function. So we could say select, and I want to sum, and I can specify now the column, the unit price. I assume there's no space, and I'm going to use a clause to say name this as total cost. So name the new column to be created as total cost. I'll put a semicolon to continue on the next line. From order details, and we're going to put a condition on this one where, so let's say I want to sum all the ones where the where the product ID, let's see how much product. Actually, let's look at the first order, order 10248. So we'll want to sum this one, this one, this one, and if there are any others in there for 10248, we want to see what the total cost, what the total of that invoice should be, or the total of the order will be. So we'll say where order ID is equal to 10248, and the total comes to $58.60. Notice the column is not sum, but it takes the name that I assigned, which is as total cost. Now let's see what happens if I would remove that, and the column name I would get would be probably based on should be based on the function that I called here. So it gives me sum underscore unit price, which is pretty nifty. It looked at the column name and the function and told me and selected an appropriate column name. But of course I can use the as clause. So after you've summed everything, give it a column name of total cost. Okay, let's close this out. So if we take 14 plus 9 plus 34 plus 1860, sorry, just these three, we'll get 5660. And of course we could sum the quantities as well. In fact, we can do both at the same time. And so in total we have 27 orders. So 12 and 10, 20 and 5, yes, 27. And the total for that is $58.60. Okay, now we can also do groupings, and that I could, for every order, I could just get the sum of every order in the table. So I could say group by the order ID and just give me the sum of every order instead of just for 10248. Group sum all the orders and group them by order ID. So let's look at how to do that. So in fact, all we needed to do is this one is to remove the where clause, and we'll change that with a group by order ID. Okay, and so this is not, okay, let's modify. It did work, but just so you see the order ID, let's add the order ID column to the results. And so for 10248, the summation, as we saw earlier, the next one came to $61 and so forth. So these are all the orders in the system, and we've simply done a grouping on the order ID to get the total of every order. So pretty powerful stuff that we can do with the select command. So we've looked at specifying columns, we've looked at using functions. We could use max and min, like I could return the maximum order out of this query. So let's say I'm not giving you too much too soon. Let's locate. In fact, no, that would be difficult. So there's some pretty big numbers in here, such as I see 368. This may be the largest one yet, but maybe not. So there's an easy way to find out. We can just simply have the SQL command return the maximum total. In fact, I won't do that now because it requires showing you. It's a little bit, anyway, I'll do it just because I mentioned it. So select, we wanted to find out what is the highest order. We'll say sum unit price, that's total, from order details, having, in fact, I want the order ID as well. And so this one we have to use the having clause. Having sort of like works like where, but it's used for comparisons with when working with groups. So I want to say having some unit price. In fact, nope. Okay, this wouldn't work. I can do it on the query because this already have the summation, and then from this result I can then compare the unit price and return the max. So let me show you that. I hope I've not confused you. So what I'm going to do is to copy this into another cursor. So I'll select from query into, oh, this is a good idea. I get to show you something new. Into cursor, I can actually specify the name of the cursor. So we'll call this result 1. And so there's an exact duplicate of this one. We can browse that. And then from here, I could say select asterisk from result 1 having, no, in fact, I'll select max some unit price from result 1. RESULT1. Result 1 must be created with select into table. Okay, so yeah, it won't work from a cursor. Let's okay, so that's fine. It is saying that I must do this with a table, and so I'll just simply put table here and recreate that. Okay, and I'll close one of these and run this again. Okay, so now that we've created a table, it becomes a free table, and a free table only supports up to 10 characters for the name, so unit price would have to be truncated to unit PR. Okay, and so the maximum or the highest order is for $574.35. Hope I didn't confuse you with all this, but we'll talk more about the having clause that I happened to mention just now. So I'm going to stop here for FoxPro and SQL. We've looked at the select command. In the next part of this series, we'll look at the update command, and we'll look at also some other. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what we can do with the select command. Okay.